Grab a Cuppa. This is a bonus episode. So I'm having a chat with Jo. Jo is a mother of 3 and 2 of her children have autism. So we are talking about life as a mum and carer for her children, and also how they've coped during lockdown, and also how to cope when they're having a meltdown, and many more. These things are always nice to talk about so we can get other people's perspective. I have found that I have quite a lot in common with Jo, and also we like the same style of music as well, which is a bonus. So this is Grab a Cuppa with Jo. Jo, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
How are you getting on? What's been happening in your life lately? What's going on?
It's just been the chaos of getting back to school after 6 months of the kids being off and everything that's came along with that. So it's been quite a hectic week, but we've got there.
Yeah, I can relate. I can relate because I have 2 kids. My daughter's she's 8 and she goes to mainstream school. My son's 6 and he goes to specialist school. They're both on the autistic spectrum, but my daughter is on the they used to call it Aspergers and now is high functioning. And my son is severely autistic, where he is nonverbal with complex needs. They are in different types of schools, so getting them ready to going back to school after so long at home was a task in itself. How was that like for you? And you said you've got children. What are their age?
I've got a 23-year-old and he's got Aspergers, and he's left home over the holidays as well. So that's been another experience in itself.
Wow.
I've got a 16-year-old daughter who doesn't have any kind of additional needs, and my son is 14 and he's just gone back to school yesterday and he has Aspergers as well.
How was lockdown for you guys?
It was fine, actually. It was really surprising because I was really concerned about how he was going to cope with all the routine being gone and everything. And he doesn't like doing homework and he's in a mainstream school. It was quite taxing at the beginning to figure out how it was going to work. But actually, he was much better and actually bloomed, for want of a better word, not being in the school environment. He took over his own independent study and everything.
That is really good, though. Did you attempt to homeschool?
Because he's in secondary, they were providing online work anyway. And I didn't know whether it was going to be a real challenge to get him to do it because he really has that separation of home and school. But once it started, he would get up one morning, straight on his laptop, do his work, come and tell me he was finished, and then just get on with his day. And it was quite a shock to me and his teachers and his support staff that this had happened at all.
Yeah, so even though his routine is changed, he felt comfortable enough to make his own routine and make changes to his own routine.
Yeah, and I think on the more kind of sad side of it, it was really aware of how much he was struggling with the sensory issues in school because he was getting his work done so quick. And when I was communicating with the school, they were telling me, he was getting all his work done. So it was talking to him over that time and him saying, well, I didn't have to wait for all the noise of the children to calm down in class so I could concentrate. I didn't have the rush in the corridors and getting stressed with the noise and the busyness and being around so many people. So actually he's enjoyed doing his work and putting more into it, being taken out of those surroundings.
So that's really interesting, actually. Yeah. Because with us, it was, well, obviously, as you know, for your own experience, change of routine in a child's life can be very detrimental to their mental health. But yeah, also, I was really impressed with my kids because they dealt with it so well. You know, they exceeded my expectations, and I was just like, oh, okay. I didn't we decided not to homeschool because my daughter, she is above her age group academically, you know, so and my son, he, even though he's 6, he has the mentality of a 1-year-old. So we just, I don't know, changed the routine, obviously, with him not being able to go to school, but he was just doing different stuff at home. A lot of parents have said, oh my God, lockdown's been horrible, because obviously having the children with them all the time. But I guess it depends on the situation. That what I've seen is that people that have a let's say a 9 to 5 job, and they drop the kids at school and then go to work and then go get the kids from school and then cook tea, whatever, bath, bedtime, and that's their routine. Whereas, like, for me anyway, my job, well, I don't like using that word job because being a mom is not a job, but I am a carer for my son, so I don't have your 9 to 5 or job to go to. So this is my life 24/7. So for me,
same here.
Can you relate?
Because I used to work in a school, and it got to the point where my mental health was suffering trying to balance the work and home, and because there was so many appointments either at the paediatricians or in school for the kids, that it just got to a point where I couldn't do it and had to kind of make a priority call of going, right, any career stuff of mine has to go to one side and I have to just deal with this, which is where we've been for a couple of years now. And it's definitely, but you're right, I think we are very, it's very easy to say we don't have a job, and then you list all the things we do in the house and go, and the caring we do for our children, and go, actually, this is this is quite a job, because you don't go home, you don't clock out at the end of the day.
You don't clock out. It's not like, oh, 5 o'clock's here, I've stopped being a mum. Or parent, carer, whatever. It's just you don't. You just, it's 24/7. It's not. So it's, one of the things that I really dislike is when people say, like, oh, being a full-time parent is not a job. It's like, well, it's not a job, the sense of what a job is within society, but it is, like, it's more than more than a job. Like, it's something that we decided to become parents, fair enough. But to be fair, like, when I found out that I was having a baby, I never thought that it would be this way.
No,
it's going to be as hard it has been. But then again, it's like, I guess if you were to think about stuff like that and overthink it, I don't think I'd be too scared to have children, just in case something was to go wrong.
And I think it's, especially with my eldest having Aspergers anyway, this is my normal parenting. It's not it's not like I'll say things that are going on and people will go, well, that's a lot, and you kind of go, well, that's what I do. That's not, it's always been the same.
You've known no different, it's not like, oh, my child was fine and then at the age of 5 got autism. It's just, it doesn't happen like that, it just doesn't happen. It's something that they are born with, and then you start noticing the signs as they grow older. You've known no different. That's why people say, like, oh my God, like, I don't know how you can cope. Well, I have to cope. We have to cope, because if we don't cope, how are our children going to get the things that they need to cope in this life, to deal with everything, you know, that life throws at them. It's bloody hard work,
and I think
isn't it?
It is. And I think one of the things that's always kind of got to me is at the 2 points, in different points where my boys got their diagnosis, you would get people saying, sorry. And I'd be like, what are you sorry for? They're still the same child as before they had a label. I'm not sorry about this. But it seems to be a really standard reply that people kind of just want to go, or, you know, say like, oh, he's just got an autism diagnosis, so we know officially now. And they'll go, oh, I'm really sorry about that. And I understand it's people's polite reaction.
Yeah.
But you do kind of get that, well, it's my child and he's still who he is. It makes no difference. The only thing it changes is that I can now access more support. That's the only difference that's there.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, it's like, it's as a parent, it's very difficult that you have to have a label to get the help you need. And yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, it's like I find really, especially, let me just back up a little bit, especially with the current situation, it's very, very hard to get children to have an appointment with, you know, someone who specializes with autism. I don't know if you deal with CAMS.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So, or MindMates, any of those organizations that deal with assessments and that sort of thing. There's a waiting list of years.
Oh yeah.
And it's very difficult. So my son was diagnosed when he was about 18 months, 2 years old, maybe. But because it was obvious. It was obvious that he was so behind.
Challenges.
Yeah, but my daughter, she's still waiting for an official diagnosis. However, she's been under the care of a educational psychologist. So they are like, yes, for sure. We just have to wait to get the paper saying, you know, this is what's happening. But
I think we went through a thing where and I know that this is a common theme for children who are high functioning, is that it doesn't get spotted as quickly until the socialization falls out of sync with their peers. And with my eldest, it actually took him moving to a different school because the issues he was having were being described as naughty. And all I could think of was, this doesn't tally with who my child is. And we moved, and he went to another mainstream school. And within a week, his teacher took us to one side and said, has anyone ever mentioned Aspergers to you before? And I said, no, because I think even at that point, because like I say, he's 23 now, it's a lot more known about. It wasn't about then. There was and there still is to a certain extent that Rain Man kind of stereotype when people say autism, but it's a lot more clued up now than it used to be. Mm-hmm. But she spent 1 week with him and noticed the lack of eye contact. We withdraw if it was too noisy and all those things, because she was seeing it with fresh eyes and had experienced it. And it was only when I got home and kind of Googled it, and I could have just really ticked off this list of going, have they just made this for my son? Is this, they're just describing him, and it all became clear. And then we had to make as you'll be aware, because you're in it now, that very long process that there seems to be for the high functioning side of it. So
absolutely.
You couldn't realise that you didn't see it, but because, like I say, because it was my eldest, I didn't know any different. That's just what he did. But obviously with my youngest, we were able to spot those signs earlier of going, hang on a minute, I think I've seen this